Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be for the pilot of Outlander, Season 1, Episode 1, Sassenach, I think it's called, Sassenach, and, I was really looking forward to this pilot, like, really looking forward to the show, and I've been looking forward to it, actually, for a long time, actually. I've been looking forward to it ever since I heard about it. I remember I read something about it on Stars. You know, people are saying, oh, you know, one of the shows that's going to be so great is Outlander. Outlander's going to be amazing. Outlander's going to be amazing. And I was like, you know, what is Outlander? So I quickly, you know, looked up what it was about, and that plot sold me right away. I was really looking forward to watching this show. I meant to watch it last week. I just didn't get a chance to because I really wanted to finish my classic movie reviews, so I didn't get a chance to. But I just watched the pilot, and, you know, just watched the pilot, want to give you guys my thoughts, and overall, what did I think of Outlander? Outlander is a masterpiece. I know this show is going to be absolutely amazing. This show is by far my favorite summer show this year. I mean, really, I know the Nick is great. The Nick is great. I love the Nick. But this show is 10 times better than the Nick. I love the story. I love the way the show is going, and I loved everything about this pilot. Loved it. There were no complaints at all, and I have no problems with this show at all. That's one of the great things about the show right off the bat that we'll get to. So basically, we start off where we see this opening monologue given by our main character, Claire, and she says, "People disappear all the time. Young girls run away from homes. Children stay from their parents and are never seen again. Housewives take the grocery money and taxi to the train station. Most are found eventually. Disappearances, after all, have explanations, usually." And Outlander, by the way, is based on a book series. It's based on a very popular book series that I personally have not read. Maybe one day I will get around to reading it, because I do like this story, definitely. And, you know, we'll have to see, but let's just get into it. So, yeah, basically, we see a very large expanse of Scottish landscape. We see a narration by, as I said, our main character, Claire. And basically, we see Claire contemplating a base purchase to her life during World War II as a nurse. And basically, this is our first real look at her personality. We see her take a swig of a champagne bottle at Veterans Day. And it has come. And she continues to tell us what follows in her life is pain, heartbreak, and death, but she would still make the same choice. So we see right away, you know, she's a nurse in World War II. This is who she is. And I just thought this scene was really well done. A lot of chaos going on there. I mean, again, just like the Nick, it realistically portrays the idea of war. That's one of the things I love about the show, is it realistically portrays the idea of war, and this definitely portrayed that very well. So, yeah, so then we get to the intro, which, by the way, the intro, oh my god, the intro to the show is absolutely amazing. I fucking love the intro to the show. It's so, like, it's just so good, definitely. I mean, I don't usually talk about intros, but this is one intro that I just had to talk about. I love the intro to the show so much. I think the intro is absolutely fantastic. Just such a good intro. So, the first 40 minutes of this episode primarily focuses on, Claire and her husband Frank spending a second honeymoon in Inverness. Basically, they're doing this because we see that, you know, the war is over, and, you know, he has been in the war for years, and it's kind of about them kind of re-familiarizing themselves with each other and getting their relationship back to what it used to be. Because he just spent the war in some sort of horrible situation, and it's very hard to let go of those memories, definitely, for them. You can see that right now. So, I mean, I really like this scene, definitely. You see that they're a very happy couple. They really want things to work out for them, and I just really like that. So, we see them check into this, hotel, basically. They go into this, hotel, and, they check in there, and, you know, you can see they're a lot of fun. They're actually, like, jumping on a bed to see, to test it. I thought that was definitely a very fun scene to watch. I thought it was a fun scene, definitely, when that happened. But, yeah, so I really enjoyed that scene. So Frank has a very big interest in history, genealogy, and his own family tree. He really likes to learn about his family tree, which is why the couple has made, Inverness their destination, we find out. We find out that's why they are at Inverness, because he really likes to study history, genealogy, and his own family tree. So, they explore this old castle, Leoch, and, which is very important, which we will get to why that's important, but they visit Reverend Wakefield, who is the local genealogy expert, and I thought his character was definitely very interesting. I enjoyed his character. But Claire ends up meeting up with this girl, the housekeeper, Mrs. Graham. Now, Mrs. Graham reads tea leaves and palms, and her readings to Claire are very mysterious and foreboding, you know, very interesting what that has to do with, definitely. And, that's really, there's one other scene of her in this episode that's very important, but there's definitely something about her character that I definitely want to talk about. I mean, I don't know what's going on with her character, but her character is definitely going to be very important to the show, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else her character does, because I really like her character. I like where they're going with her character. Definitely a very good character, in my opinion. So, basically, Claire then retires early to the bed and breakfast, and a storm is raining down on Frank. He approaches the inn, and he notices someone in Scottish Highlander gear gazing at Claire through the window. So, of course, you know, he stops to ask what he's looking at, and, you know, because obviously he's like, what's going on here? What are you looking at? And he just disappears. Now, he does not bring it up after that. Probably because he's just thinking maybe he's just seeing things, or he's going crazy. You know, maybe he's having PTSD even, because, you know, he was just in the war, and maybe he's just, like, hallucinating. You know, a side effect of PTSD is hallucinating, so that could be definitely something that was going on as well. So, he's trying to think rationally here. So, they end up having sex, which, you know, they ended up having sex, basically. I thought that was definitely an interesting scene, definitely. I was happy that happened for them. I was happy for them. One of the things that's great about the show is right away, you're really happy for them. You really want it to work for them. And this scene really just made me really want it to work out for them. And I really liked about that scene that they showed. You know, definitely a very well done scene, definitely, when they had sex. I thought it was a very sweet scene, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. It was just a cute scene, you know. They're a nice couple together. I like them together. Yes, there are some weird things going on, but overall, they're a nice couple together. So, basically, they are spurned by rumors of this thing called a witches' gathering. So, they want to, you know, Claire and Frank are both very curious about this. They really want to find out what's going on here. So, they get up very early to watch them dance by the standing stones called Craig and Dun as the sun rises, and they notice that Mrs. Graham is actually one of the participants there, which is very interesting because, of course, you know, Mrs. Dunn, you know, Mrs. Graham, of course, you know, the thing that's really interesting about her character, you know, Mrs. Graham, is that she, of course, had that weird thing with the tea leaves and rain palms. So there's definitely something about her character that I'm definitely very interested in seeing what's going to happen with her character. That scene was definitely very weird, but it wasn't, like, too weird. I like that about the show. It's not too weird at all. It's perfectly set. It's just like there's a mystery going on. I really like that about the show. It's definitely very good. So, obviously, Claire and Frank, they do not know what is going on at this point. I mean, think about it. You see a bunch of women dance, randomly under the sun, under this thing called Craig and Dun, for no reason. We don't know what's going on here. So, they go up to the stones to investigate, and Claire notices that, some flowers, she would like to collect. She notices some flowers she would like to collect, but she sees this reappearance of one of the girls, basically, you know, she wants to collect some flowers, but this girl who, was there before reappears to stop her from doing so. So, the following morning, she ventures back out to Craig and Dun to collect those flowers because she really wants to get those flowers, but she hears a humming coming from one of the stones, and she doesn't really know what it is or why, you know, she keeps hearing this humming noise, and she doesn't really know why. And, she walks over to investigate the stone. She places her hands on it and essentially disappear. And basically, the scene was very well done. I mean, she placed her hands on it, and we kind of see, like, her in, like, this cab, basically. And she doesn't know where she's going to or whatever. And when she wakes up, you know, kind of is basically that cab is driving her away from her own time. Because she wakes up at Craig and Dun, and she's very confused about exactly where she is, you know, where exactly she is, because she can't find her car. So, of course, you know, obviously she's very, like, you know, confused. She's like, you know, why can't I find my car? I mean, if anyone couldn't find their car, and they knew where they parked it, that would definitely be very interesting. But she then runs into some redcoats, who she basically thinks are taking part in some sort of reenactment. But of course, if they were in a reenactment, they would not be firing live ammunition. So obviously, one of the things, obviously, if they were doing reenactment, they would not be using actual ammunition. So she's realizing right away, something screwy's going on. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Something's going on, definitely. So, she's trying to figure out where she is. She's very confused right now. She's running and tripping to various places, but she eventually arrives at this bank of a creek, and she finds this man who actually looks exactly like her husband, who looks exactly like Frank. She's thinking this is pretty much Frank. But he's dressed in red coat attire. He's dressed, like a red coat, basically. And she soon finds out that he is actually not Frank, but Jonathen Wolverton Randall, a.k.a. Blackjack Randall, an ancestor of Frank's. He is an ancestor of Frank's. He looks very much like Frank, but he's just an ancestor of Frank. So, I'm wondering where his character's going to go, because we only see him in this one scene. But, basically, he obviously is not like Frank at all. He is not, Frank's very loving and everything, but he really is not. He almost assaults her, but she's rescued by a Highlander, who we later find out is, his name is, Murta, something like that, and, she's protesting and everything, and he eventually knocks her out. So, he knocks her out, and they arrive at this cottage, where she sees more Highlanders await. So, she meets a couple other people. She meets, Dogal, Rupert, Angus, and Jaime. Jaime being the most important in the show. Jaime is basically the second main love interest, if you will. I know that because everyone that's reading the books, I was looking on Twitter and people are like, oh my god, where's Jaime? And there was Jaime. So, definitely I thought this next part was very interesting. She obviously still does not know what's going on. She doesn't know what to think right now. But of course, Claire is a very experienced nurse. She knows what she's doing. But the thing is, in the 1700s, they did not really have anything medically. They didn't. You got shot, you died, basically. There was no trying to bring you back, because that wasn't relevant till, like, the 20th century. And, this is really when she starts to realize she's not in the 20th century. Obviously, she realizes before, but, she really wants to help, Jaime, because his shoulder has been dislocated. So, the cottage, everyone in the cottage is very amazed, because they've never really seen, medical attention, someone take medical attention to anything before. They've really never seen that before, because again, it's the 1700s, so they really haven't seen that before. So she, basically does end up, dislocating, does end up, repairing his dislocated shoulder. And I thought there was definitely, a very good scene, definitely. I really like that scene, definitely, because it really showed, how much of a strong nurse she is. I really liked that about that scene, definitely. But she ends up basically becoming a prisoner of these men. They take her along on their return home, basically because they're like, you know what, if she really needs somewhere to go, we'll take her. And she ends up using her maiden name as well, because if they find out she's married, they're gonna think she's crazy, obviously. And I thought that was the right thing to do, definitely. Her not using her, her basically going by her maiden name is probably the best thing to do in this situation. Because if she doesn't use her maiden name, these people are gonna think she's absolutely crazy. Which, I mean, think about it. If a woman came up to you, who's from the future, and she said she has a husband who looks like, who looks like this, particular guy, she, I would think she's crazy. I would think she's absolutely crazy, and I think it was definitely good that she decided to use her maiden name. That was the right thing to do. So she goes along with them, and they happen upon, this rock called, Cocknaman Rock. Now, earlier in the episode, we had seen that Frank had mentioned that the English actually would use for this rock for ambushing the Scottish Highlanders. So, definitely this was definitely very interesting because, of course, the English and Scottish. Claire is obviously Scottish, so she's working with Highlanders right now. But of course, the guy that is her husband was on the, is the enemy right now. So it's definitely very interesting. I think that's definitely a very interesting thing. She eventually, she's thinking about this memory, and she speaks up about the rock. And this does give the group an advantage. She does tell them what's going to be happening. Basically, that the English are going to be ambushing them. This does give them an advantage it does increase Dogal's suspicions that she might be an English spy, which I thought this was definitely very interesting. So he ends up kicking her to the curb because he pretty much thinks that she is an English spy, and I think it's definitely very interesting because the thing is, you know, if she knows what's going to happen, but it's not that she's an English spy, she's from the future, and they don't realize that. So it's definitely going to be very interesting. And I'm sure at some point she is going to have to tell them what's going on. It's going to be interesting to see if she does eventually tell them. So, you know, basically during the attack on the men, because that attack does end up happening, Jaime ends up getting shot in the same shoulder he dislocated. So, you know, Claire does meet up with him. He initially does not tell her this happened. But she does find out because obviously he's bleeding, he has blood loss, and she decides to once again fix him up, basically. She fixes him up again, and they go, you know, basically she fixes him up again, that's what she decides to do, which honestly, I think that was definitely the right move there. She fixes him up again, and they go on the road again, and they arrive at, and guess what, and basically at the end of the episode, they arrive at Castle Leoch, and that's how the episode ends. Now, of course, Castle Leoch, that was the place that, Frank and, you know, Claire first stopped by on their trip there, basically, was Castle Leoch, definitely. I thought that was definitely, very, very interesting that they ended the episode that way, and, I mean, that was a great way to end the episode. I love the way to end this episode, and I love this show in general. This was a fantastic pilot to the show. It really got us invested in the characters, it really got us invested to the world of Outlander. You know, it didn't introduce too many characters or anything. I mean, this show could have very well flopped, definitely. Could have very well flopped, and it didn't. I was surprised by how good this show did what it did. It's not the easiest thing to jump from one time period to another time period and do it well. There aren't many times when a show does that well. There are many times a show has done that. Rarely does a show do that well. Rarely. So this show was very surprising for me that actually did that very, very well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the show is going to go. So, of course, there is that whole thing about her husband and, her, you know, Frank and her. You know, there is that whole thing. Is she going to go back to the 1940s? Now, I did hear that there are going to be 1940s flashbacks throughout the show, which I think is really, really cool in my opinion. I really hope they continue to do that, because I think that's really cool that they're going to do that. Let's get to the acting of the show. Acting in the show is absolutely fantastic. I love the acting in the show. Everyone is absolutely fantastic. I don't know how you pronounce her name, but Troyan, let me look this up. Troyan Balfe as Claire, absolutely fantastic. I love her character. I think she is such a great character, in my opinion. I love how strong she is. One of the other things that this show does so well is the narration, is the narrative aspect of the show. You know, a lot of books and movies get rid of that narrative aspect. This show has it in there. Not really a thing a show does very often, and this show does it very, very well. It actually adds to the show, because you kind of, by having that narrative aspect, you get into Claire's head, you know what she's thinking, you know, you don't need to have, like, this whole period of her thinking what to do, because you hear what she's thinking, and she's recalling back. Now, the thing is, where is she exactly recalling back to? Where is this actually going to lead us to? I don't really know. But definitely she did a very good job. I love her acting in the show. She's by far the best in the show, definitely. Great female lead. Absolutely fantastic. Sam Hegan as Jaime Fraser, also really good. I can definitely see chemistry between him and Claire. The thing is, are they actually going to end up in a relationship? Because if they do, of course, she does still have Frank. So we'll have to see if there's might be a relationship there. I don't know what's going to happen there. Again, I have not read the books. I'm not going to read the books. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. Do not ask me to read the books, because I'm not reading a single book till this show is over. None, because I've heard this show is very accurate to the, the show is very accurate to the books. I am not going to read any books till the show is over. Very much reminds me of Game of Thrones. Very much so, because Game of Thrones is very accurate to the books, and Outlander is very accurate to the books. I feel Outlander could become the next Game of Thrones. I really feel like it's going to be that big. I forgot to talk about some of the other cast members. Tobias Menzies as Frank and also Jonathen Randall. I thought he did a great job as both of these actors. As both these characters. We saw more of Frank in this episode, but I do think we're going to see more of Jonathen in the next episode, because obviously they want us to know his character, definitely, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of his character. Graham McTavish as Dogal. I think it's very interesting with the twist that he thinks that Claire might be a Russian, not Russian, English spy. I think that's really interesting because the thing is, you know, how's that all going to turn out? He's going to think that she's an English spy. Will he try to turn Jaime and all the other, you know, Highlanders against her? That's going to be really cool if that ends up happening. I feel it could definitely end up happening, you know, in the future, definitely. And then, of course, there's Gary Lewis as Column. And then the only person I'll talk about is Annette Badland as Miss Fitzboggins. Again, there's definitely something strange going on with her character. What exactly is going on? I personally don't know what's going on with her character. I can't say specifically what's going on with her character, but there's definitely something going on with her character, especially the whole, like, tea leaf thing. That has not been resolved yet. We're going to have to figure out what's going to happen there, but as I said, this show has so much potential. I love this show. Also, the directing of the show is absolutely fantastic. The director of the show is John Dahl. He only directed the first 2 episodes, apparently. I don't know who's the director for the other episodes, but he is doing a tremendous job with the show. This show is amazing cinematography, by the way. Some of the best cinematography on TV, in my opinion. And this show, just like The Nick, is going to make stars much more popular. Yes, we've had Power, which I heard was really good. I personally was not interested in that show. This show, I'm extremely invested in already, and it's only the first episode. And, you know, when you can hook me on a show, and it's only the first episode of the show, that's absolutely fantastic. This show, right away, at the end of it, I'm like, that was like Game of Thrones combined, but, you know, that was like Game of Thrones in, like, but combined with Turn, basically. It's Game of Thrones and Turn combined together, and I really love that about the show. Very much love that about the show. This show is definitely going to be extremely popular, and it's definitely doing what a pilot should do, which is introduce us to all the characters, get us to like all the characters, get us to root for all the characters, and it definitely did that for me. No complaints to the show at all. Absolutely love this show. Cannot wait till the second episode. Just love this show to death. Absolutely fantastic. But that's basically it for my review of Outlander. Let me know what you guys thought of the pilot of this episode. What do you guys think is going to happen on this show? You know, what's going to happen, especially with Claire? You know, is she actually going to try to, you know, with her and Jaime? I feel there's definitely chemistry with them. Also, her and Jonathen. What's going to happen there? She's definitely going to have to find out more about Jonathen. Also, I'm really looking forward to seeing 40s flashbacks. I heard we're going to get a lot of them. I'm really looking forward to that. Definitely. The other thing to talk about, of course, is the old lady, which I can't remember her name now. I can't remember her name. Oh God, what is her name? I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name now, but you know, her character, I'm really looking forward to finding out more about. You know, the tea leaf thing and all that. Very interesting in figuring out what's going on there, especially with that whole like weird dance. I don't know what's going on there either. We'll have to see what's going on there. And I guess the only other thing I'll say is also what's going to happen with the whole thing of, I don't remember his name now. I can't remember any of the names. Sorry, guys. What the hell is his name? Dogal thinking that she is a, English spy. I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there. But definitely the show has so much potential. Can't wait for the next episode. And, yeah, so that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you guys in my next review, which will be my review for probably tomorrow's episode of Big Brother. Because that's all because that's what I'll review next. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.